This is the reading of the book Life Loves You, authors Louise and Robert Holden. Chapter 1, Looking in the Mirror. Love is a mirror. It reflects only your essence. If you have the courage to look in its face, Rumi. It's a Thanksgiving day. Louise and I are enjoying a festive lunch with family and friends. We are seated together at one end of a large oval dining table that is laden with two huge turkeys, plates of organic vegetables, gluten free breads, a Cabernet Franc wine, and a pumpkin pie with an almond crust. Heather Dane has lovingly prepared this food. She insists her husband Joel also deserves some credit. Chief food taster, perhaps. The conversation flows like this. And the spirits are high. Life loves you, says Louis, as we raise our glasses in thanksgiving. As the afternoon rolls on, Heather conjures up even more delights from her magical kitchen. The oval dining table is continually being laid and relaid. I imagine it is enjoying the feast as much as we are. At one point, one of our party, Elliot, leaves the table and walks across the room to a full length mirror hanging on the wall. Elliot stands still in front of the mirror. He then leans forward and kisses the mirror. Louise and I catch the moment and smile at each other. After a little while, Elliot again excuses himself from the table and he walks back to the mirror. He kisses the mirror again. He returns to the table. He's very happy. Pretty soon, Elliot is making regular visits to the mirror, but he's unaware that any of us are watching him. Yet by now we all are, and we are enchanted. You see, Elliot is only 18 months old, baby. What he is doing is natural and playful. Children kiss mirrors. When Elliot sees he has an audience, he beckons his father Greg to join him. Greg is reluctant to leave the table, but Elliot keeps motioning to him, using a mix of sign language and words. Greg cannot resist his son's overtures. Soon enough, Greg is sitting in front of the mirror. Elliot kisses the mirror first and then waits for Greg to take his turn. Now, Greg steadies himself. He leans forward and plants a kiss on the mirror. Elliot claps his hands and shrieks with delight. Louise, do you remember kissing yourself in the mirror as a young girl? I ask. No, but I'm sure I did, she says. Louis then asked if I remember kissing the mirror as a young boy. No, I don't, I reply. We were all like Elliot once, Louis says. I'm sure that's true, I say. Yes, and we can all be that way again, she says. How so? I ask her. By doing mirror work, says Louis, as if the answer is obvious. Why mirror work? Mirror work helps you to love yourself again, she explains. Like we each did in the beginning? Yes. And when you love yourself, you see that life loves you too, she adds. It's a bright spring day, and my son Christopher and I are home alone. My wife, Holly, and daughter, Bo, are, Bo, are out enjoying some girl time at the Pottery Cafe near Kew Gardens. Bo has just turned 4 years old, and she expresses her creativity beautifully and with such fun. They will be home soon, and I look forward to seeing Bo's latest work. Knowing my daughter, it will be a rainbow plate, a wobbly cup with hearts, or a baby rabbit salt pot painted pink. The sort of thing that would not be out of place on the big old table at the Mad Hatter's tea party in Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. Christopher is nearly 6 months old now. I feel like I have known him my whole life. Sometimes, when our eyes meet, the roles we are playing disappear. I stop being a dad, and he stops being a baby. And it's like we are two soul friends hanging out. I have had exactly the same experience with Bo many times. I cannot imagine life without them, and it feels like we were always meant to be together. Louise believes that we choose the family that can give us the lessons and the gifts we most need for our life journey. In her book, You Can Heal Your Life, she writes, I believe we are all on the endless journey through eternity. We come to this planet to learn particular lessons that are necessary for our spiritual evolution. We choose our sex, our color, our country, and then we look around for the perfect set of parents who will mirror our patterns. Holly and Bo called to say that they are on their way home and they have gifts for Christopher and me. I put the phone down and I noticed that Christopher is smiling. Christopher smiles a lot. Most babies do. It's in their nature. However, when Christopher gets into one of its smiling moods, he cannot stop himself. He ends up smiling at everything, even inanimate objects like an empty flower vase, a vacuum cleaner, or a screwdriver. I gather up Christopher in my arms and I take him over to the mirror that sits over our fireplace. Dear Christopher, it is my great pleasure to introduce you to Christopher, I say, pointing to his reflection in the mirror. Christopher stops smiling. I'm caught by surprise. I thought he would be full of smiles when he saw himself in the mirror. After all, he smiles at everything else. I introduce Christopher to his reflection again. And once again, Christopher does not smile. In fact, his face has barely any expression on it. It is as if he has not been seeing anything, not even an empty flower vase. Why didn't Christopher smile at his reflection in the mirror? Well, I did some research on the psychology of childhood development, and I discovered that it's common for young babies not to smile at themselves in the mirror. They don't recognize themselves. Why is this? I asked Louise about it. Young babies are not identified with their body yet, she said in a matter of fact way that is so characteristic of her. Young babies are like soul birds that fly over their body and have yet to land into them. When they look in the mirror, they don't point at the body and think, that's me or this is mine. Babies are just pure consciousness. There is no thought of I. They have no self image. They have not made a persona or mask. They do not experience neurosis as yet. They are still full of the original blessing of spirit. They are identified only with their original face, as Buddhists call it, which is the face of the soul. Children commonly begin to identify with the image in the mirror between 15 to 18 months of age. This is the mirror stage, the stage du mirror, as the psychologist Jacques Lacan called it. No wonder Elliot was having such a good time at our Thanksgiving feast. Sure enough, when Christopher reached Elliot's age, he started to kiss the mirror too. He would also kiss the big round bath tape in our family bath, shiny spoons, steel saucepans, glass doorknobs, and anything else that caught his reflection. From about 3 years old, the mirror becomes a friend. Children love what they see in the mirror. This is the time when they learn I have a body. They still wear their body lightly, though. The body is not who they are, but it is a necessary form for the human experience. This is a time to try on faces, to pull poses, to play peekaboo. and to invent silly dances. Christopher and Bo are highly amused by the image they see in the mirror. They often play games with their image just as Peter Pan plays with his shadow. Experimenting with being a me is a fun at first, but not forever. As we take on the identity of a separate self and ego, there is a shift in our psychology. We become self conscious in front of the mirror. We are camera shy. We either crave attention or we avoid it. We take a detour out of love and into fear. We start judging ourselves and we lose sight of our original face. The self image that appears in the mirror is made up of judgments. It is not the real you. The soul bird, which is our true nature, will still sings, but it is difficult to hear her song above the raucous shrieks of a self image or ego that feels separate and afraid. The beauty we once saw in the mirror is still with us, but it is distorted by our self judgment. We can see it again the instant we stop judging, but the judging is now a habit we are identified with. We have convinced ourselves that judging is seeing, but the opposite is true. You can see only when you stop judging. Myth of inadequacy. My first suicide attempt was at 9 years old, tells me. What happened? I asked. Well, obviously, it did not work, she says. The world would never have met Louise Hay if it had, I tell her. That's true, Louise replies with a smile. So, what happened? I was told never to eat certain berries on the hillside because they were poisonous and I would die. So, one day, when things were too bad, I ate the berries and lay down to die. Louise and I are sitting in front of a full length mirror in her office at her home in San Diego. We are sharing our childhood stories. It is Louise's idea that we do this in front of the mirror. She looks directly into the mirror as she speaks. She maintains a steady eye contact with her reflection, and I'm struck by how honest and vulnerable she allows herself to be. She speaks with a soft and kind voice as she recounts her childhood. Her words still carry some sadness. She is full of compassion for her 9 year old self. Why did you want to kill yourself? I ask. I did not feel lovable, she says. Did you ever feel lovable? I ask. Yes, in the beginning. But everything hit the fan after my parents divorced. My mother remarried to a man who abused me physically and sexually. There was a lot of violence in our home. I'm so sorry to hear that, Louise, I tell her. The family message was, I am not lovable, she says. When Louise was a teenager, a neighbor raped her. The man was sentenced to 16 years in jail. Louise left home at 15 years old. All I wanted was for people to be kind, she says. But I had no idea how to be kind to me. Things went from bad to worse. I was starved for love, and I was a magnet for abuse, Louise tells me. She went to bed with anyone who was nice to her. Soon she was pregnant. I could not take care of a baby because I could not take care of me, she says. When it's my turn for my childhood story, Louise begins by asking me, what is it that you most wanted when you were a child? I look deep into my reflection in the mirror. My mind is blank at first. Soon the memories return. I wanted to be seen, I tell her. She asks, what I mean by that? I felt like I wanted someone to tell me who I am and why I am here, and that everything will be okay, I explain. As a child, I was full of wonder and full of those big questions like who am I and what is real and why do I have a life? When I was little, we moved from house to house. Mom wanted to be far away from her parents. Dad was always busy chasing work. Somehow we ended up back in Winchester, England, not far from Mom's family home. We rented a little house called Honeysuckle Cottage, and I have a lot of happy memories from that time. Later, when I was 9 years old, we moved to a village called Littleton, into a house named Shadows. I remember thinking that it was a strange name for a house. Did your parents love you? Louise asked. Yes, most definitely, but it was complicated. What happened? She asked. My mom suffered from depression that would come and go and come back again. The depression always arrived unannounced. Sometimes it would settle in for weeks. Mom just lay in bed and we would pray for the medication to kick in. Other times, she was admitted to a different mental hospital, but she always tried to kill herself in those places. What about your dad? Louise asked. He had his own demons, I tell her. When I was about 15 years old, we found out that dad had a drinking problem. He promised to stop. He stopped many times too. He eventually left home and spent much of the last 10 years of his life homeless, traveling from one temporary shelter to the next. It was a nightmare to live with two parents who were in such pain. The Holden family loved each other as best as they could, but none of us felt lovable inside. Not one of us could say, I am lovable, and really mean it. The reality of your being is that you are lovable. Louise Hay. Hard Thoughts. Louise and I share a philosophy about the basic nature of people. We both know that the basic truth about everyone, including you, is I am lovable. Love is much more than just a feeling, an emotion. Love is your true nature. It is your spiritual DNA. It is the song of your heart. It is the consciousness of your soul. If we are fortunate as children, this basic truth, I am lovable, is mirrored by our parents, our school, our church, and our friendships and our relationships. Mirroring is an essential part of childhood. Its highest purpose is to affirm the basic truth that I am lovable. It is through affirmative mirroring that was experience our eternal loveliness. We trust who we are and we grow up to be mature adults who are a loving presence in the world. The basic truth, I am lovable, has an opposite. The basic fear, I am not lovable. The fear of not being lovable is reinforced by unhealthy mirroring in childhood. In our conversation in front of the mirror, Louis tells me, I was raised by two people who did not feel lovable. They were not able to teach me what I am lovable means because they did not know it themselves. Parents have to know about the basic truth of their own nature if they are to help their children love themselves. The basic fear, I am not lovable, is not true. It is just a story. It feels true only because we identify with it. This stops us from enjoying our own company. We move away from ourselves. We forget about the soul bird that is our true nature, and the world becomes a symbol of our fear. We are scared to look in the mirror. I speed up past mirrors. Actor Bill Nighy once says, fear of unlovability inflicts or infects our psychology, which becomes full of self judgment. There is something wrong with me. I am bad. I am nothing. The basic fear coupled with the habit of self judging, cause us to experience something I call the myth of inadequacy. The myth of inadequacy expresses itself in self talk like, I am not good enough, I am not smart enough, I am not successful enough, I am not beautiful enough, I am not strong enough, I am not interesting enough, I am not creative enough, I am not rich enough, I am not thin enough, I am not significant enough. This fear of being not enough has been present in everyone I have worked with, says Louise. The myth of inadequacy has nothing to do with the soul bird, our true nature. It is a learned unworthiness. It belongs to a temporary self image that we act out until it becomes too painful to maintain. At some point, we fall to our knees and say, I want to heal my life. And there must be another way. We outgrow the myth of inadequacy when we are willing to embrace again the basic truth I am lovable. The mirror principle. The first time I did mirror work, it was not easy, Louise tells me. What happened? I ask. I looked for flaws and I found plenty of them, she says with a smile, such as, oh, my eyebrows were not right. I had too many wrinkles. My lips were not the right shape. There was a long list. That must have been hard. I was very hard on myself at that point in my life, says Louise. My first experience with mirror work was similar to Louise's. When I looked in the mirror, I came face to face with a crowd of judgments. Some of the judgments were about my appearance. I remember I did not like my smile. I wanted it to be different, better, somehow. I am not photogenic, I told myself. The other judgments were even more personal and condemning. Typical myth of inadequacy stuff, like I am not successful enough, I am not talented enough, I have not done enough with my life, I am not good enough and I never will be. Were you tempted to stop doing the mirror work? I asked Louise. Yes, but I had a good teacher who I trusted, and he helped me to feel safe in front of the mirror. How did he do that? Well, he pointed out to me that the mirror was not judging me, it was me who was judging me. Therefore, I did not need to be afraid of the mirror. That's the key to the mirror work, I say. Yes, agrees Louis. And he also showed me that when I looked in the mirror, I was only judging my appearance. I was not really looking at me. So you stuck with the mirror work? Yes. And after a while, I began to notice the little miracles, says Louis. Little miracles? Green lights and parking spots, she says with a big laugh. What do you mean? Well, traffic lights seem to turn green just for me, and good parking spaces would appear in places that were normally impossible. It was in the rhythm of life. I, I was easier on myself, and life was getting easier. Life was getting easier. I too have a good teacher for mirror work. Her name is Louise Hay. Louise is regarded as a pioneer in mirror work and has been teaching the world about it for more than 40 years now. Mirror work is the name Louise uses for a series of experience exercises that you do in front of a mirror. These exercises include meditations, affirmations, and inquiries that are featured in her Heal Your Life program. I use mirror work with students of my work with the Happiness Project and in my 3-day program called Lovability. The mirror principle is a name I give to the main concept behind mirror work. It is the key to understanding why mirror work is so transformative and healing. The mirror principle also gives you the motivation to keep doing mirror work when you experience resistance. The mirror principle teaches that your relationship with yourself is mirrored in your relationship with everyone and everything. I repeat, your relationship with yourself is mirrored in your relationship with everyone and everything. Your relationship with yourself, therefore, reflects it in your relationship with family and friends, lovers and strangers, authority figures and rivals, heroes and villains. The mirror principle can help you track your relationship with yourself in all areas of your life. Your relationship with yourself is mirrored, for instance, in your relationship with time, making time for what's important, space, enjoying the gifts of solitude, success, listening to your heart, happiness, following your joy, health, caring for your body, creativity, how self critical you are, guidance, trusting your inner wisdom, abundance, how present you are, love, how undefended you are, spirituality, how open you are. The mirror principle shows you how you suffer and how you can heal, and how you block yourself and how you can set yourself free. It is the key to self love and also to letting life love you. Recognizing how the mirror principle operates gives you the necessary awareness to make good choices in your relationships, your work, and your life in general. So, before we go any further, let's take a closer look at the mirror principle. Psychology is a mirror. Your psychology is a mirror of your self image. Your sense of who you are influences the thoughts you most identify with. In other words, you think like the person you see in the mirror. I used to think I was a victim of the world, says Louise, so my psychology was full of fear and cynicism and defensiveness. Life was trying to love me, but I could not trust that. And I could not see it was because I did not believe it. The most effective way to change your psychology is to change your mind about yourself first. The world is a mirror. Perception is subjective, not objective. The brain receives more than 10 to 11 billion bits of information every second, according to some estimates. It would blow a fuse if it tried to process all of that. Instead, it filters the information and presents us with only about 2000 bits of information every second. Your self image is the filter. What you see is what you identify with. We see things not as they are, but as we are. And that is how we relate to the world, as hell or heaven, a trial or a gift, a prison or a classroom, a battlefield or a garden, a workhouse or a playground, a nightmare or a theater. Relationships are a mirror. When we meet each other, we also meet ourselves. We discover that we are different in some ways, but the same in most ways. When you bring to a relationship is what you experience, and what you withhold may be what is missing. Sometimes we extend the basic truth, I am lovable, to each other, and other times we project the basic fear, I am not lovable. The less you love yourself, the harder you make it for others to love you. The more you love yourself, the more you recognize how loved you are. Life is a mirror. When we grow up, we have a tendency to recreate the emotional environment of our early home life, wrote Louise in her Love Yourself, Heal Your Life workbook. We also tend to recreate in our personal relationships those we had with our mother and father. Your life is an expression of who you think you are. It mirrors your values, your ethics, and your choices. It shows you your thoughts. It reflects what you believe you deserve or don't deserve, who you blame, and what you take responsibility for. The mirror principle gives you the key to experiencing little miracles in your life. The principle is summed up beautifully in A Course in Miracles. Perception is a mirror, not a fact. And what I look on is my state of mind reflected outward. The text go on to say, projection makes perception. The world you see is what you gave it, nothing more than that. But though it is no more than that, it is not less. Therefore, to you, it is important. It is the witness to your state of mind, the outside picture of an inward condition. As a man thinketh, so does he perceive. Therefore, seek not to change the world, but choose to change your mind about the world. Miracle of self love. In my room, I have a mirror, and I call it my magic mirror. Inside this mirror is my very best friend, Louise Hay. Mirror work was not easy for me in the beginning, Louise tells a room full of students. The most difficult words for me to say were I love you, Louise. I shed a lot of tears, and it took a lot of practice. I had to breathe through my resistance each time I said I love you to myself. But I stuck with it, and I'm glad I did, because mirror work has transformed my life. There are 150 people in the seminar, and they are hanging on Lewis's every word. Among the students are many psychologists, therapists, and coaches who use mirror work both personally and professionally. Louise attended the seminar as a student for her own learning. However, when we came to the module on mirror work, I could not pass up the opportunity to ask Louise to talk to us. And fortunately for us, she was happy to do so. Louise tells us about an early breakthrough she had with the mirror work. One day, I decided to try a little exercise, she says. I looked in the mirror and I said to myself, I am beautiful and everybody loves me. Of course, I did not believe it at first, but I was patient with myself, and soon I felt easier. Then, for the rest of the day, I said to myself, wherever I went, I am beautiful and everybody loves me. This put a smile on my face. It was amazing how people reacted to me. Everyone was so kind. That day I experienced a miracle of self love. Louise is on a roll, and so I take this opportunity to ask her about the purpose of mirror work. Our conversation was recorded, and here is what Louise said. The real purpose of mirror work is to stop judging yourself and see who you really are. When you stick at the mirror work, you get to see the beautiful you in full awareness without judging, criticizing, or comparing. You get to say, hi, kid, I am with you today. And you become a true friend to yourself. Lewis's response reminds me of the old Sufi practice called kissing the friend. The friend is spelled with a capital F because it refers to you, your unconditional or unconditioned self, to the soul bird that is made of love and that loves you very much. In the practice of kissing the friend, you take your ego, your self image, to the friend and let yourself experience the basic truth I am lovable. This meeting washes away all misperceptions about who you are. It helps you to let go of judging, criticizing, and comparing. When I teach the mirror principle, I share a poem called Love After Love by Derek Walcott. It's a beautiful poem about self love that identifies the drama that exists between the basic truth of the unconditioned self, I am lovable, and the basic fear of the ego, I am not lovable. Walcott describes the unconditioned self as the stranger who was yourself and who knows you by heart and who has loved you all your life. He encourages us to let our unconditioned self befriend our ego, which is full of fear and judgment. Peel your own image from the mirror, he writes. Sit, feast on your life. Louise agrees to answer questions from the group. The first question is about common mistakes people make while doing the mirror work. Louise says, not doing mirror work is the biggest mistake. Too many people don't do mirror work because they think it won't work because they have tried it before, even before they have tried it. Once people start, they are often put off by the self judging they witness. She says, the flaws you see are not the truth of your being, Louise explains. When you judge, you see flaws. When you love, you see your essence. The next question is about common blocks to doing a mirror work. Mirror work does not work in theory, it only works in practice, Louise says. In other words, the key to mirror work is to do it and to be content about it or to be consistent about it. When Louise is asked if she still has days when she finds it difficult to look in the mirror, she replies, oh, yes. And on those days, I make sure I stay in front of the mirror until I feel better. She does not go out the front door until she feels in a more loving space. She tells us, after all, the world mirrors how we feel about ourselves. After all, the world mirrors how we feel about ourselves. Louise and I wrap up our session together with one more question. This time, I ask her what has been the greatest gift of doing mirror work. She shares how mirror work taught her to love herself and how it accelerated her healing process when she had vaginal cancer nearly about 40 years ago. Love is the miracle cure, she says. And when you are willing to love yourself more, every area of your life works out even better. On that note, Louise takes her leave, signing off in familiar fashion. Remember, life loves you, she says. Practice 1. Letting life love you. Louise Hay says, love yourself as much as you can, and all of life will mirror this love back to you. Louise and I are out to dinner at Mr. A's, which is one of Louise's favorite local restaurants. We are enjoying excellent food, fine wine from Burgundy, and a panoramic view of San Diego. I have flown in from London for another round of conversations for writing this book. We are both excited and grateful to be working together. During the meal, I present Louise with a gift. It's a silver pocket mirror with the inscription, Life Loves You. Louise smiles. She opens the case and looks into the mirror and she says, hi, Lulu. She says aloud, always remember that life loves you and life wants the best for you. All is well. She pauses for a moment and then hands the mirror to me and says, you go, kiddo. She says with a twinkle in her eye. The first spiritual practice Louise and I have created for you combines self love and mirror work. This practice has two parts to it. It takes about 15 minutes to do it, and the benefits will last a lifetime. The one piece of equipment you need is a mirror. Any mirror will do. Make sure you give it a good polish before you begin. You are about to meet the most important person in your life. Remember, your relationship with this person, namely you, influences your relationship with everyone and everything. Let's begin. Be sure you are sitting comfortably, look into the mirror, inhale deeply, say to yourself, life loves you, or life loves me, and then exhale. It's good to keep breathing. Repeat this 10 times. Notice your response each time. Pay attention to the three languages of response: sensation, which is a body message, feelings, which is a heart thoughts, and thoughts, which is a mental commentary. We recommend that you write down your responses in a journal. Louise and I did this in order to track our progress. Some sensations may include tension around the heart, tightness in the face, softening around in the eyes, and lightness of being. Feelings may include sadness and grief, hope and happiness. Thoughts may include commentary like, I can't do this, and this is not working. Please don't judge your responses. There are no right or wrong answers. And don't try to be positive. Be honest. Notice that the phrase life loves you is only 3 words long. There are no other words. It is not life loves you because, for example, because I am a good person, or because I work hard, or because I just got a raise, or because my football team won. Similarly, it's not life will love you if, for example, if I lose 10 pounds, or if I heal this cancer, or if I find a girlfriend or a boyfriend. Life loves you is about unconditional love. And after you complete 10 rounds of the affirmation, life loves you, we invite you to look in the mirror and say this affirmation to yourself: I am willing to let life love me today. Once again, notice your responses. When you say, I am willing to let life love me today. And remember to breathe. Repeat this affirmation until you feel comfortable sensations in your body, light feelings in your heart, and happy commentary in your thoughts. Willingness is the key. With willingness, all things are possible. Please encourage people to be very kind to themselves when they do this practice. Louise tells me as I write notes for this chapter. I know that mirror work can be very confronting at first. It reveals your most basic fear and your most terrible self judgments. But if you keep looking in the mirror, you will begin to see through those judgments and see who you really are. Lewis goes on to say, your attitude to mirror work is the key to success. It is important to take it lightly and be playful. If it helps, I prefer that people stop calling it mirror work and instead call it a mirror play. Louise and I want you to do this spiritual practice every day for 7 consecutive days. And we want you to start today. Doing it tomorrow won't make it any easier than doing it today. I know from my own experience that whatever excuse I have today, I still have the same excuse tomorrow. Louis tells me, remember, mirror work does not work in theory, it works only in practice. You don't have to like this exercise or agree with it. All we ask is that you do it. It will get easier and easier. Any discomfort or resistance you experience will dissolve if you meet it with love and acceptance. If you like, you can do this exercise with the support of a trusted friend, therapist, or a coach. The real goal of this first spiritual practice is to help you align yourself consciously with the basic truth: I am lovable. When you feel lovable, you experience the world that loves you. Remember, the world is a mirror. There is no real difference between saying to yourself, I love you, and life loves you. It's all the same love. When you let life love you, you feel lovable. And when you feel lovable, you let life love you. Now you are ready to be who you really are. Please note, This practice is not about making yourself lovable. You already are lovable. You are a holy expression of love now. It is not about making yourself worthy. You already are worthy. It is not about improving yourself. It is about accepting yourself. It is not about changing yourself. It is about changing your mind about yourself. And it is not about reinventing yourself. It is about being even more of the real you. We close chapter 1 with a prayer I wrote that I often share in seminars. It's called Love's Prayer. We think it sums up the spirit of love and acceptance, which this chapter is all about. Beloved one, you cannot judge yourself and know who you are. The truth about you cannot be judged. Put aside your judgments then for one sweet holy moment and let me show you something wonderful. See what it's like to be you when you stop judging yourself. What you judge is just an image. After the last judgment, you will know yourself again. Love will appear in your own mirror to greet you as your friend, for you are lovable and you are made of love. So this is end of chapter 1.